Hello YouTubers, KyFriedPlatypus here for another commentary. Today my commentary will be on GupTil89's detailed response to Youngblood Fantasy Z91's commentary on his rant on corporate logos. Instead of having a detailed defense to his points, GupTil is once again bitching about logos. Let's get this party started, shall we? Okay, I will give you some credit. You do have a somewhat nice intro.
What do you know? I have encountered someone who is actually worth my time.
He's more intelligent than you. Ooh, Slade.
Youngblood Fantasy 91. Recently, he constructed a commentary on Rant-a-wreck Shorts number 4, The Unimportance of Change. It was detailed, he was soft-spoken, and he had some interesting points to bring up. Now, many of them I disagree with, and that is why I was determined to make this response to him.
Obvious jump cut is obvious.
Now, instead of doing a commentary on a commentary, what I'll do instead is list the most important arguments and give my thoughts about them. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Argument number 1.
He's considered to be the archetypal Sonic fag.
Okay, people, here's what you need to have hammered into your brains. If you describe someone as pretty and sometimes hot, it does mean attractive, but not in a mounting sexual way.
I hate to break it to you, but the word attractive pretty much gives away the idea that you possibly want to have sex with said character. Which reminds me, why the hell did you use the word attractive to describe Sonic in your original top 10 video?
Sorry, Jamin, but your argument falls flat on its face. And to add to that, by your own logic, it seems to me that if anybody describes anything as hot, including a stylish backpack or a pen, people are going to cast horrified looks on them and think, "Dear God, he wants to do that backpack! Somebody call security!" Besides, as long as the anthropomorphic character looks humanoid and is fictional, why does it matter? Quit acting like they're real.
Look who's talking.
Argument dos.
Thank you for describing the nature of our working capitalist society. I see the point of your video slowly flying away into the distance as you continue your sad nitpicking on this trivial topic.
Youngblood, there is a difference between nitpicking and majorly criticizing something. Throughout the whole presentation, I have been criticizing major stuff. Nitpicking, on the other hand, is arguing about a change that is so tiny, it wouldn't make any sense to criticize it. Take, for example, the new Nintendo seal. It still has the same font and oval, but it's white. It used to be red and nothing else. If someone complained about that, that would be the proper definition of nitpicking. A major revision would be taking the words orange juice, changing them to OJ, and removing the picture of the orange or oranges. Certain insignias are starting to go down that path. Argument 3.
Even if the logo does change, you can still locate the product label on the box or on the cover anyways. That's what product labels are for. Quick identification of the product so that you can buy it. If you can read the product label, you're fine. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Here's what you don't understand. If you take the design of a product and then warp it around, you're not going to identify it as quickly as you could before. Heck, some people might not notice it at all. If you took a closer look at the difference between the old and new Tropicana cartons, the name of the brand is right where it needs to be on the old one, but on the second one, the words 100% orange stands out way more than the name of the brand turned sideways. Thankfully, however, the designers realized the problem and transfigured it back to what it should look like. In the product world, you are going to need to judge it by the cover anyway. Argument 4.
The two pictures you showed me of the Mountain Dew logo demonstrated minimal modification of the logo itself. So the word mountain was shortened to the abbreviation MTN. It's a common abbreviation. And who cares if the word dew is more slanted to the right, it's still red, the background is still green, and the general design is similar. I would complain if there was a complete overhaul of the logo, not minor changes that spur you into an OCD fit.
This is the only argument that I agree with. The reason I compared those two pictures together is because I thought that MTN would perplex some persons. Little did I know, I was being a bit of an idiot.
Like you always are.
Argument number 5. In response to the new Nike emblem, Youngblood mentioned this.
Dude, it's a universal symbol. Do you realize how much advertising we come across today? Do you realize how many times we see this logo and associate it with shoes, sports, and Michael Jordan? Unless if you were born in an uncontacted civilization, Guptil, then there is no way in the 9 regions of hell that this symbol can go unrecognized by someone living in a country with any semblance of an economy.
True, Nike is widely recognized by millions of individuals, yet when you don't have the name on the trademark, sooner or later, someone might ask what the name of it is. And quite frankly, I think the populace hate asking that type of question. Also, a couple of other corporations have a design similar to the Nike swoosh, such as Brooks, Saucony, and Mizuno.
Sorry, but I don't see what makes those logos similar to the Nike logo.
In other words, Youngblood, your argument is kind of irrelevant. If you look at some of the other running shoes insignias, they're all conveniently labeled with the name of the product right there. Nike doesn't retain that trait, which it should have. Argument SIX. After explaining that Gatorade transformed to G and the fact that it's referred to only as G, he had this to announce.
Not necessarily. Although the company could call it G for their ad campaign, people still refer to it as Gatorade either way.
Cool.
And besides, like I said, if you can find the product label on the bottle, then what is the point of complaining?
Well, see how the name is scrunched in between the word performance and the nutrition facts? Not to mention it's gray, like the other words. It actually seems to blend in. Believe it or not, my stepdad had trouble finding Gatorade drinks. I'm dead serious.
Corporate logos are there so that they can attract consumers, not pander to those who wish to go against the current of the human condition and have things never change ever.
Well, it very well seems that way now.
Adam Smith would be very disappointed with you.
Probably, but you should keep in mind that Smith wasn't a few centuries ahead of his time. The drawback with his Wealth of Nations inquiry is that it doesn't take into account scheming unnecessarily. Therefore, much industry is ignoring his principles. Argument 7. This is the response to the What's G ads.
I looked up the commercial on YouTube, Guptil. How can you not think of Gatorade when you see those commercials? They feature athletes, dude. If you have common sense and can connect the dots, you will realize that the athletes plus the letter G involves Gatorade, since previous commercials had similar themes. Unless you can think of a major shoe franchise starting with the letter G that has famous athletes endorsing it, then your gripe is in vain.
Preceding ads didn't have a theme almost identical to What's G, Youngblood. The ads usually involved running, throwing balls, striking pucks, and so on.
Dude, those are athletic activities.
It also exhibited the beverage usually by way of somebody washing it down and developing colorful sweat. What's G, on the other hand, just features a long row of stationary athletes and a stylish letter G at the end. If the promoter does not display the object that describes the product, confusion is going to occur even if you don't expect it to. Argument 8.
Many corporate logos have changed since a long time ago. You think Chrysler was bad? Look at the Warner Brothers logos. But wait, you say, how could they have changed? They were Warner Brothers, for Christ's sakes. Well, take a look at this logo. This was when 7 Arts purchased a part of Warner Brothers back in the late 60s. That was their logo for a short period of time, but then reverted back to their original later. And what about Scream Gems? First you had the Columbia Torch Lady, then this logo that looks like it should have been in the Modern Art Gallery. All logos are guilty of these major changes, Guptil, and all of Chrysler's logos are very well known either way. So if you can't pick out the Chrysler Wings or the Chrysler Pentagon, then you're not familiar with Chrysler at all. Simple as that.
True, the Warner Brothers and Screen Gems alterations were pretty stupid, but at least they had the courtesy to place the business name along with the insignia. Also, little do you know, you were actually adding to my argument. I complained about Chrysler because while some can be familiar with the manufacturer, they can still get bewildered, especially if they went to an old-fashioned car show, or if they're on the road and spot a vehicle with any one of these symbols on it, because they can forget what trademarks the corporation had. This response also applies to what you mentioned after I said, "What company is that again?" Argument 9.
Have you seen the modifications of the Pepsi logo over the years? The general design remained the same, of course, but the Pepsi font changed, and the overall design of the Pepsi ball slightly changed. And you're okay with that?
Yes, I am, because as long as it says Pepsi on the can, bottle, or other object, nothing is wrong. The long line of modifications is a perfect example of consistency, something a few other organizations like Nike and Gatorade lack.
But what about the Mountain Dew example you presented earlier? You had a problem with the word being more italicized, but you have no problem with complete font changes unless the Pepsi ball looks similar.
Refer to what I said earlier about the Mountain Dew issue since I don't want to recapitulate.
I don't know. What is the point of this video?
To point out actual problems with the economy that most folks take for granted?
Yeah, 'cause logos and advertising are the most essential parts of the economy. I mean, it's not like people are losing money or having their homes foreclosed or anything like that.
Argument Dees. This is his opinion about the remodeling of the Dunkin' Donuts building.
The current design didn't change too much. They just adopted orange, so of course the outside sign must turn orange to keep the building up to date so that it doesn't get replaced with another store. The roof must match too, so the building doesn't look out of place and outdated with the new sign change. And the interior must match for the same reason. So why are you complaining about progress and maintenance? Do you want your local Dunkin' Donuts to go out of business?
If an establishment only gets redecorated, it shouldn't be considered progress. The real definition of progress would be expanding the size of the structure or putting up an entirely different premise altogether. Take this, for instance. The old McDonald's properties in New England had an appearance that looked like a 3D interpretation of the original Pizza Hut seal. Now, the buildings are rectangular cubes with bricks and stone. Despite the fact that it slightly looks like a car dealership, it's an appropriate redesign. Also, they added more parking spaces. On the other hand, going from this to this doesn't work.
Like Youngblood said, do you want them to neglect the building and possibly go out of business?
And besides, as long as the sign has the words Dunkin' Donuts on it, individuals are going to order the treats anyway. Argument number 11.
Your way of thinking is dangerously counterintuitive to the nature of the invisible hand of the economy. Again, Adam Smith would spit in your face.
Oh, please. If I didn't possess the knowledge exemplified in the presentation, the bad U.S. economy could get worse. A lot of officials are greedy and are spending thousands of dollars to do things that inflame the financial crisis, such as this. In Somersworth, New Hampshire, there used to be a medium group of houses in one particular area. Citizens lived in that area. There was also a furniture store as well. But one day, all those buildings were torn down just to construct a CVS pharmacy.
They probably knocked those houses down because there are fewer people living in them.
If you thought demolishing the houses was bad enough, across from the pharmacy is another pharmacy owned by Rite Aid. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. What they should have done was nothing. But if they kept the plans to put up a CVS pharmacy, all they would need to do is set it inside the place where Rite Aid was if that particular store went out of business and just keep the homes and furniture store. That would be an example of a healthy economy. I doubt Adam Smith would be mad at me. Argument 12. This comes after the closing statement.
Then it is necessary to change it to make sure that the store is kept up with the times and to catch a person's eye. That's the necessary reason to change it, Guptill. You said so yourself.
Bad news. You misunderstood. Again, refer to what I said about that stuff earlier because I don't want to reiterate it.
Guptill, you need to understand the basics of our economy. You can't just have everything remain the same all the time.
Further proof that you get butthurt over language, Guptill.
Otherwise, people will get bored easily and will move on to something else, and put other companies out of business. Sure, there are certain logos that are classic and only went through minor changes, but those were companies that became ridiculously successful and part of our mainstream culture.
Well, guess what? Gatorade, Nike, and Chrysler have been part of the American culture for quite a lot of years, and their symbols didn't have to go through such baffling alterations throughout the course of time. The problem is, most workers aren't that smart. Also, it's actually bad marketing to confuse customers. Well, that's it. 12 arguments, all of which I disagree with.
But I thought you agreed with the argument where you were complaining about the Mountain Dew logo.
That is a lot. So, young blood, as well as everybody else, I hope you've comprehended this long reply and will take into account strategies to help build an actual, robust economy. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Well, what can I say here? Instead of bringing up decent defenses to each argument, Guptil is once again complaining about the same things he complained about in his original video. If you're going to make a response video, at least be detailed about the points you are defending instead of providing the same nitpicky arguments that you brought up in your original video. Well, folks, this is KyFriedPlatypus. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good one, folks.